Cancel.
Schweezy.
So time for a movie review. I haven't done a movie in a while. God damn it, my back itches. Hold on, let me itch this thing real quick. Like try to like rearrange your arm to scratch your own back. Okay. So here's the thing. So it came to my mind to review this movie. I had to watch it in two parts, folks. It's a long one. Les Misérables. The reason I chose Les Misérables because there's a funny TikTok of Ben Shapiro singing Stars from Les Mis, and I think if I play it, I will get copyright struck, so I'm not going to play it. However, let me see if I can remember how it says. So, Dear Ben, as I'm learning ethics, I'd like to get an input on where you stand when you steal a piece of bread to feed your family. Why or why not? And he's like, well, I can only answer this in musical form. There, out in the darkness, a fugitive running from God. And basically like that. So I was like, maybe, so I know a bunch of songs from Les Mis. And I even had to learn a couple. My friend Caleb was like, apparently like they were singing like some Les Mis songs at his senior recital. And they wanted to get the group together. And he wanted all four of our vocal professors at the school to join in on him. 3 of the 4 did. And I was like, I can sing that part too. And it was the Newt Scamander part in One Day More. So I learned it, and then he's like, we're not going to do it. I'm like, fuck you. Sorry, Caleb. I love you, buddy. So anyways, let's get into it. I have all my notes down. Like I said, I had to watch this in 2 sessions. It's like 2.5 hours. I watched the 2012 version with Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe and the other people. So actually, Les Misérables translated into English is The Miserable. So the more you know, and knowing is half the battle. So anyways, let's just I'm going to kind of go through the movie, see if we'll react to everything. So you first get introduced to Jean Valjean, or Hugh Jackman. I'm going to be calling him Jean, or Jean Valjean, because you can't say Jean. I'm like, you call him Jean, maybe. Jean Valjean, or I'm probably going to be calling him Wolverine a lot throughout this thing. So it looks like you start the movie off with him just getting out of prison for stealing bread to feed his sister, I believe, or something like that, and his sister's kid. It was initially 5 years, but he tried to escape a couple times and ended up being 19 years for a piece of bread. So he finally escaped, but he's on like parole for his entire life and shit like that. And he's like, this man is dangerous. He stole a loaf of bread. This man is going to kill you if he finds you because he stole a loaf of bread, which is very good commentary today with all these fucking people in jail for weed. And then like white people in California are like, here's weed yoga with goats. I'm like, okay. Folks, there's literally people going in jail right now for that shit. And you're just like, oh, we're going to have a little fun with our weed. So basically he ends up like he's trying to find a place to stay, and I guess no one wants him to stay there. So but eventually a monastery is like, hey buddy, you can stay here. And basically he's trying to sleep, and he's like, I'm gonna rob the monastery. So he gets robbed, then the police catch him, have him return it, and then the priest guy's like, hey, you actually, those are actually his, and guess what, here's some other things for him too, sell it. And he's like, with this new thing, my child, you need to start a new life. And he does that. And so like apparently in the real musical, like he's ripping up his probation card, and it's supposed to be to like the beats of like the orchestra, and they just did not do that in the movie. Apparently the fucking music in the movie was just not a good idea, because they tried to do it live, but there wasn't like an orchestra or like a pit. I think it was like one person with a piano, and like you just hear it's off. Like everyone in the movie is like a really good singer, but like it's like very off. Like it's kind of like the only way I can do this in like a recording idea is that so say like, okay, I'm gonna sing there out in the darkness, a fugitive running from God. Like they did that, just me solo singing with no like reference music in the background. Then they add the music on top of that. Like it's a little, I mean, they can do it, but it's not the best option when, like, they should have just recorded it properly in the studio and fixed everything there, because there's a lot of, just the music is a lot of problems. Like, they're all great singers and shit like that, but then they can't sing. Then like they just make it like sound off key and shit like that. I'm like, these are really good singers. I don't know what the fuck they're doing. So then he has like that change of heart. Flash forward to 8 years later. A lot of flash forwards for some reason in this movie. So Jean Valjean is now the mayor, and I think his name's like I can't remember. Name is, it's something like a Madeline or something like that. Something very feminine like that. That's not a man's name, okay? So Jean Valjean is now the mayor of this town. He owns like a factory where a lot of women works. He actually does run it, and then he like runs to Javert, Russell Crowe, making movies, making songs, fighting around the world. Russell Crowe. And, you know, they run into him and was like, you remind me of this guy who broke his parole. I was like, oh, I wonder who that could be. And then you meet Anne Hathaway, who was working in the factory, but then they find out she has a child. And for some reason, that goes against, like, company policy for her to have a child, even though it does not affect her work at all. She just sends the money to the child. It's a very weird situation. I don't get it. And then so she gets fired from the job, ends up having to be like a prostitute and shit like that. She has to be like a prostitute, and they cut her hair and pull out her teeth for some reason. I don't know how you get to that. Prostitution makes a little sense. I'm like, it's different for women, but like for some reason, someone's like, I will give you $500 to have sex with me. I'm like, I'll probably do it. I'll probably do it. I mean, what's the worst that could happen? But it's different for women. I'm aware, folks. So calm your tits. I know that Javert is very, very aware that it's. It looks like it's. I thought you remind me of this guy from prison that broke his parole. I was like, who's gonna be? So yeah, she joins prostitutes, and she tries to protect herself from a dude. And then, like, the cops are about to arrest her, but then luckily Wolverine's there to make it like, no, she's good, and something like that. So I guess everything's okay. So basically like that. Like, this movie's like really weird to follow. It's like it's very hard to follow. It's just me explaining it just sounds stupid, and I don't know if I'm doing it justice. I might be making it sound a lot better than it is. And then Javert is like, you know what? I thought you were that guy, but it turns out I was wrong. It looks like they caught him. And so they caught the wrong guy, and they thought Jean Valjean, they knew he wasn't the real one. So he has like this inner conflict with him, and he's like, you know what? I'm going to confess. And I'm like, I'm the real Jean Valjean. Even my number 24601. Just like that, so it was like that. And then all of a sudden, he goes to Anne Hathaway's deathbed. What is she dying from? I don't know. Did the movie explain it? No. Do they sing it in songs in random spots too? No. She's just dying. And then I guess Jean Valjean on her deathbed is like, I will take care of your daughter. And then she dies. And then Javert walks in. She's like, I'm dying. And it's like, if you're under arrest, Jean Valjean. And then they have the little confrontation song, which I think me and Josh are going to have to recreate sometime. I'm obviously Jean Valjean, and he is Javert. And he's like, just give me 3 days to save the child. No, I'm going to arrest you now. And then he escapes. And then ends up going to the place Cosette is a slave at. And turns out the pub she's a slave at is owned by Borat and Bellatrix Lestrange. And so he's like, I'll pay him off, and then the kid's mine. Because that's how that works. So then eventually, now Jean Valjean has a child, but he's also on the run from Russell Crowe at the same time, and I guess, but like they ran into the guy that Jean Valjean like saved. A guy was like stuck under a wagon, and he like saved him from it. And then like, I guess they escape somehow, and Javert's no wiser. And then he sings the Ben Shapiro cover. They're out in the darkness, a fugitive running from God. And I'm like, yeah, it's the song. That's the song. Ah! Okay, so that's, and then it ends in there. And so I guess they're slightly running. Oh yeah, and then Cosette doesn't know any of Wolverine's backstory the whole time. Like, you learn that. I learned that at the end of it. Like, she didn't know anything. They were always like running away from Javert, and like she just didn't know what was going on. Okay, that's a little plot hole in the movie. So yeah, we flash forward another 9 years where Cosette turns into Karen from Mean Girls. And so the French people are like, we're going to start a revolution led by a child with the thickest British accent in France, leading the French Revolution. But also, didn't they mention in it, like, there was already the French Revolution, so they're doing, like, another French Revolution? Is that what's going on here? I don't know the history. Like, I know the French Revolution's, like, churches and like the wealthy is too rich and the bottom people were just being shit, so they killed the king. Sounds about right to me, and that's how I go through history. But you know, then Newt Scamander shows up and Karen from Mean Girls, love at first sight. So and then Bellatrix and Borat try to like swindle money off Wolverine, but they're like, oh, we remember you, and then they see Javert and they're like, we gotta leave. But Karen from Mean Girls is like, I love Newt Scamander, and then they sing cheesy love songs to each other. Not in the room. Not a very good love story, folks. I don't like this love story. Love at first sight. Any reason why? I don't know. But Newt Scamander and Karen from Mean Girls, folks. And they were the actual ones who performed the best in the movie. So Wolverine thinks Javert is onto him, so that he takes Karen from Mean Girls and like, they need to leave. But yeah, like I said earlier, Karen's panties are all wet from Newt Scamander, so and then there's like this other chick who was actually on the actual Les Mis show, and she's in the movie, the chick, but I love Newt Scamander too, and that goes nowhere. The love story in this movie is not good, folks. It's not good at all. And then they eventually, for my friend's Caleb's senior recital, then they sing the song, and that's when I learned I was the Newt Scamander part in the whole thing, and he was Javert because he wanted to say, like, nip it in the bud, because he wanted to say butt. There it is. So it's like, so then, like, eventually the Second French Revolution starts. Like I said, I don't know. There's a second one now, apparently. Is the sequel better than the original, folks? Shrek? Maybe. Then Javert's hiding incognito, trying to sneak in, a little snicky snake on all the people in the rebellion. I'll call them the rebels, and then the bootlickers. I think that's what I'm going to call these two. So eventually they find out Javert is working with the bootlickers and disguising with the rebels, and so therefore they tie him up and that way lock him up fast. So eventually Newt sends a letter to Karen, but Wolverine gets it. And he's like, oh, this guy's in love with her, and then like he goes down to like, oh, I'm here to help you guys. Like, you a spy, and then he shoots one of the bootlickers. And like, I guess you're on our side now. You want to kill Javert? They're like, sure. And then Javert's like, you know what? Javert, I'm a better person now. You met me. You're chasing down the old me who is a thief and a bad person. But I have changed now. And while I do this, I'm going to let you go free, Javert. I want you to know the mercy that I've given you today, because now I am a better person and I don't want to take your life. And so you hope Javert is like, realizes like, you know what, people can change, and not just because he's not a bootlicker doesn't mean he can't be a good person. Not necessarily. And then like Wolverine discovers Newt Scamander's like singing about Karen from Mean Girls. He's like, that's the guy who wants to bang my adopted daughter. And then basically, and then like then everyone starts to die soon, and so like the child with the thickest British accent. I'm like, oh, and I can eat the fish and chips and like he dies. Like they just fucking, the bootlickers just fucking shoot him, plain sight, just boom. And then because he was like, I'm gonna go Leroy Jenkins on him, go full throttle, but no big ass fight scenes. Everyone gets shot, even Newt. But Newt is not dead yet because Wolverine is there to save him. So they take him through the sewers. Great, I'm glad glad we got to see that on the big screen. And then Javert shows up and he's like, I'm going to arrest you. And I'm like, didn't he just save your fucking life? And then eventually he's like, I got to save this man. And Javert's like, eventually just drops the gun. He's like, you know what? You can go free. I'm a better person. Even though he still wants to arrest him, but he spared his life. But he, like I said, he ends up dropping the gun. He ends up doing the right thing. But then he just ups and kills himself for some reason. I'm like, buddy, you decide to not arrest someone, and you're like, you know what? My whole life is ruined. And so you just fucking kill yourself. I don't think that was the best course of action, buddy. So eventually, Newt sings a song about all his friends are dead. And then Karen from Mean Girls joins in too. And he's like, you're going to be all right. And then, and then like Wolverine has to tell Newt the story. It's like, look, I was in jail for 19 years for stealing bread. Do not tell Cosette. And he's like, I promise you I won't. But then, like, you think about, like, they've been running for, like, the past, like, decade. How does she not know what's fucking going on? Oh, no, we have to run again. This guy's after him. For what reason? I do not know how. Just kind of stupid. And so, basically that happens. And then eventually they get married and shit like that. And then they find out from Borat where Wolverine is. He went to a monastery to die. And then they do their, like, deathbed shit. And then Anne Hathaway, the ghost of Anne Hathaway, is there to lead Wolverine into the afterlife, which is like everybody on a ship singing a song together about the revolution. And you get to see everyone who died in the whole movie. It was very great. And like, you got to see everyone who died, except Javert. He didn't get to go to boat heaven. He got to die in boat hell, I guess. I don't know. He was singing a song, and I'm a Frenchman, or whatever. Nevertheless, though, all I have to say, though, Les Mis is a movie, folks. The 2012 adaptation was not good. A lot of great actors and actresses, a lot of great musicians, but folks, it took a lot for me to like try to understand what the hell was going on the entire time, and that's all I can say. Like, it's just a very confusing movie. Some great songs in there, but then there's a lot of songs that don't need to be in there. It's like, they're just like talking, having dialogue, and then they start singing. Where is Cosette? I need to know where Cosette is. I'm like, okay. It's kind of like two forms of, like, a standard musical is like, you have your dialogue and shit like that, and then you bust into song. And then there's musicals like Hamilton, that is just music the entire program. This could have gone with the first one. Like, there are some songs that could have been cut. The story could have been cleaned up a lot better. It's way too long, and it doesn't need to be that long. That's all I have to say. Would I ever watch this again? Maybe. I may watch an older version, but I'm not going to watch that version again. It's way too long, and I had to sit through. If I had to sit through 2 sessions to watch a movie, I can't imagine it's that good, folks. So. Nevertheless, though, I persisted, and those are my thoughts on Les Misérables, or translated into English, The Miserable.
What's going on, my fellow Schwoklord? Hope you enjoyed that highlight from one of the great shows that I make. If you want to watch more clips or even full episodes, go check them out over here and down below and everywhere else. Stay awesome.